shows going live or catch the instant replay. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning. I'm Mac McGee. I don't know much, but I know one thing. The PGA Tour has given me a call this morning wanting me to fill in because of all these jacklegs getting COVID, etc. So I'm going to be looking for a caddy. Anyone who wants a caddy with me over on the links, but we got to be there by tomorrow night, okay? Ready, set, go. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Are you going to sit out?
Shoot, no. I'm gonna let you guys do what you guys gotta do. Don't worry about me. I'm just gonna go home, make a little macaroni and cheese, seal the window, and turn on the gas.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man with a cool one in his head. Yeah, the armchair.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee, riding solo shotgun for in just a few minutes. Bobby is joining us, and we're going to be talking Florida Gator football. This will be the first time that we will have dove into the Florida Gators this year, so it should be a lot of fun. We are going to do a couple more things on the Florida Gators as we get closer and closer to the season beginning. It's not as far away as we think it's going to be. But the first thing that we're going to dive into is, what in the living hell is Stephen A. Smith talking about? I mean, what in the living hell is he talking about? This guy, oh, by the way, I don't think there's going to be any backlash. A lot of people have asked me about this. I don't think there'll be any backlash. You know why? Because ESPN is spineless, and they will not bench Stephen A. Smith. Now, they've done it in the past, years ago. I remember him being benched by ESPN for quite some time for some remarks that they viewed as being over the line. But they've pretty much give him full go here the last several years. And I have not seen anything so far that shows anything that tells us that Stephen A. Smith is going to get any kind of blowback from this. Nothing like Rachel Nichols did. And oh, by the way, Rachel Nichols, her comments really weren't that bad. And it was a private conversation off air that she was basically unloading to a colleague. This was intentionally said on national television. The first thing I would like to know from ESPN, though, the producers, etc., why was this even a topic? Because if you go back and you watch the segment, it was a planned topic. This wasn't something that he just got diarrhea of the mouth and, lost his mind and said the wrong thing. This was a planned topic. Why are you planning a topic asking whether or not Shohei Ohtani being as great as he is good for the game of baseball? Do you really have that much hate for baseball? I really think that's what ESPN has regretted going full bore into the NBA, because the NBA's all of their viewership, everything has tanked. And it's tanked dramatic. We all know that. The last couple of seasons have just been awful. They've been like pre-Bird and Magic era awful. Okay. So it's strange enough that ESPN has this axe to grind because they didn't go all in on Major League Baseball the way Fox did. So it seems like to me over the years, they always seem to try to find something to lean into. I'm a little surprised that they have not been on the forefront of bashing the hell out of the All-Star game, but I think it's too much into the ESPN woke culture for them to tap dance around, so they've let it go. But if they wanted to talk about what's bad for baseball, it's the All-Star game being in Denver, Colorado, when Atlanta, Georgia business people had high expectations for this summer. You're talking about coming out of a pandemic, bouncing back. They were supposed to do this big thing for Hank Aaron. They're supposed to do something for it today, but I mean, it loses all of its pizzazz if it's not in Atlanta, Georgia. It just does. But why was this even a topic? It's like they're trying to grind at Major League Baseball, and they're losing phenomenally. Even ESPN gets some kind of bonus from this. If you look at the numbers over to the side of me, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, and I get it that they spend a lot more money on the National Football League and the NBA, but it still benefits them to have good ratings. 26% ESPN Sunday Night Baseball has been up. And that's with A-Rod in the booth. Can you imagine what their numbers would be if A-Rod was not in the booth? My God. There's no telling what it would be. The sky would be the limit. If you just had a normal broadcast team that didn't have someone as polarizing and as hated as A-Rod, my God. You can kind of see what the numbers would be. Because you got the Fox Baseball, where they 32% up on Saturday nights. This is a Saturday night event, y'all, that kill the music. This is a Saturday night event, y'all, that, by the way, this is happening. These numbers are skyrocketing when people can finally get back to going out and enjoying themselves at dinner on a Saturday night. And you see that Fox is up 32%. If they were ever going to be through the roof, it would have been last year, because Major League Baseball was the first major sport to really come back. Right around that time period, the NHL came back, and then shortly after that, the NBA came back. They were all right in the same area. I know Major League Baseball had the issue of the first game because of Juan Soto's COVID and whatnot. But all in all, they should have been through the roof last year when you had nothing to do. You couldn't go anywhere. And yet somehow this year, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. These numbers, I went over them to kind of see if they'd been skewed a little bit, because I got this from a Major League Baseball sports writer. So I always have to take everything that I see, that I report to y'all with a grain of salt, because I'm always like, okay, whose agenda is this and what's going on here? But the Major League Baseball network number, that's the number that jumps out at me at the most, because their games are shown 24/7 around the clock. So you'll get a Marlins versus the Tigers game on a Tuesday afternoon as much as you'll get a Yankees Red Sox game on a Friday night. And they're up 34%. That's enormous. The other ones are smaller sample size because FS1 does not broadcast that many games. But they are up 78%. It's unbelievable. 78%. TBS up 49%. Their games only come on Sunday afternoons. They only come on Sunday afternoons. Most people have better things to do in the summer than to chill out on a Sunday afternoon and watch a random baseball game, because you're normally watching your team. So for instance, if my Braves or if my Rays have come on TBS, I'm not aware of it, because I'm watching the local feed. All in all, the most watched half in a Major League Baseball history, 6 billion total minutes. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with the accessibility of Major League Baseball today, because you can stream it from so many different devices. Now, there are paywalls, but you still have you have the ability to stream, right? I think one of the smartest things Major League Baseball did outside of what the National Football League has done is that you are not tied in financially to another entity. And what I mean by that is to get the Sunday NFL ticket, I would have to purchase the NFL Network. And I did it for years. And I finally said enough is enough. I'm tired of wasting. All in all, it was well over $1,000 a year just on this, on the actual cable itself. I call it cable, but it's, satellite. Not to mention how much I was having to pay for the Sunday NFL ticket. But you have to have that device to get it, right? I finally did the math. I said, you know what? If it's a game that I really think I need to see, I'll just go up to the local restaurant and watch it. I'll order me some beers and get a burger or whatever, and I'll watch it that way. That's the smartest thing that Major League Baseball has done, is that you can buy the MLB packet. It's pretty affordable if you do it online. It's pretty damn affordable, and you can stream it from any device, essentially. So I think that's got a lot to do with why their numbers are so high. But the fact that they have the top 10 most watched games ever, and the top 4 most watched games ever. Okay. A lot of this has to do because they're compiling worldwide. Why are there so many games being watched? It's because Shohei Ohtani, Stephen A., you jackass. It's because Shohei Ohtani is becoming an enormous star, and you have to realize the impact he has in people in Asia that are coming over and watching. They're watching Major League Baseball more than they ever have over there, because even when you had Ichiro back in the day, you know what the biggest difference between Ichiro and Ohtani is? It's timing. They're both from Japan. Baseball's huge in Japan to begin with, but they're both in Japan. But when Ichiro hit the scene, God, what has that been? A little over 20 years ago. I guess close to 25 now that I think about it. But there, you could not stream MLB.TV over in Japan. You had to have a hookup. And they did do some national games. Japan, I do remember back at that time, they did pick up some national games where they would try to show as many Seattle Mariner games as they could, but it was within reason. Now, anyone sitting in Japan who has lived in Japan their entire life, who is very proud that someone from their country has came over into the United States and doing what he's doing, that's why the numbers are huge. So to answer your question, you dumbass, yeah. Shohei Ohtani, it's not a bad thing that he is a huge, huge star. It doesn't matter. Why does it matter that he can only speak Japanese? First of all, the NBA could learn from this, because you need some interpreters with some of the NBA players, because they're so damn illiterate. And this is from all walks of earth. The NBA interview usually is not a very fun interview. You're talking about a bunch of players who didn't go to college. If they did, they went 1 year. It's not a terrible thing that we've got an interpreter for Ohtani, because there's no telling what he's really saying. The interpreter's like, no, we're going to clean this up. The NBA could learn from that. If they could get an interpreter for LeBron James every time he says something really stupid, the NBA could benefit from that. But why was this never a big deal when Roberto Clemente? Why was this never a big deal earlier this year, when Ronald Acuna Jr., you could argue, was the biggest star in America in Major League Baseball? Okay. I know Ohtani is huge in Japan, but he wasn't as big a star as Acuna is because of where he plays. It's got nothing to do with his play. He plays in Los Angeles, and I get that, and that's a big deal to a degree, but most of your people don't get to see Ohtani play. Most of America are at bed. When Ohtani takes his first pitch, takes his first swing at the bat, he's in bed. So why is it such a big damn deal to have Shohei Ohtani speaking through an interpreter when I have watched Acuna Jr. do the same thing his entire time with Atlanta, but this year specifically? Why is it that big deal? Is this Asian hate? Is this why? I mean, is there some kind of hate that we are not aware of that Stephen A has for a section of the world? It's the only thing that makes sense. None of it, because you have some of your bigger stars in Major League Baseball. Some of your bigger stars that have played other sports have had interpreters. It's been like that my entire life. You know, Ichiro had an interpreter for as long as I can remember. I never really cared because I normally don't care what most of these athletes have to say, because it's usually the same 3 or 4 catchphrases every single damn time. It's usually, well, yeah, we're going to take one game at a time. We're going to try to, you can only win the game that's in front of you. We're going to we're going to go out here and we're going to regroup. And it's the same crap over and over again. I don't care if you say it Japanese, American, or Spanish. It's the same crap over and over again. I would like to see every Major League Baseball manager, every NFL coach, and every single NBA coach to all be hired from abroad, so we wouldn't have to listen to any of their stupid ass interviews, their stupid ass press conferences, because most of them are boring, they're dumb, and it's why Bill Belichick trolls the entire industry, because they're stupid. You get in there, it's like, what do you think about the fact that you lost on to Cincinnati, right? That's the famous. I don't know why the hell Stephen A. Smith cares that much about it. I think it was his way of trying to take a dig at Major League Baseball. I don't necessarily think that Stephen A. Smith is racist. And I'm not one to pile on to someone because they made a comment, because I don't like it when they do it to anybody. So I'm not going to jump on Stephen A. But I think it was his way to try to take a dig at Major League Baseball, because he and his colleagues for years have tried to tell you the BS narrative that the NBA is more popular, and it simply has never been true. I've gone over the numbers for years on this show. It simply has never been true. If you take the totality of what is actually watched every single season, Major League Baseball crushes the NBA. But what they focus on is the ESPN game of the week. They don't pull the numbers for how many Red Sox and Yankee fans and Braves fans and Phillies and Mets and whoever else. They don't take those numbers into consideration because they don't care about it, because they're local numbers. What they care about is did the Wednesday night game of the week between the Tigers and Pirates get a good draw? No, because if you are a diehard Tiger fan or you are a diehard Pirate fan, you're not watching ESPN, you're watching your local feed, because nobody wants to hear A-Rod go on and on about how he sucks and ended up buying into the Minnesota Timberwolves because the Major League Baseball didn't want his ass. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Bobby's on his way, and we're going to be talking Florida Gator football. That's right, we're getting that close to kickoff, and it's time to start diving into the SEC. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to CBS Sports Radio and the YouTube channel.
KISSMYASS spells kiss my ass.
You'll be the gut, or you haven't got style.
Sports Talk Radio. You either got or you haven't got style. Tune in weekdays here on the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio. ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterback.
Against the blitz. Touchdown, Florida State. Brock Preston scores the touchdown. And now it's Bowden's decision. And he sends Mowry onto the field right away. Danny Cannell is the holder. Mowry ties it. This game is over. A 31-31 tie. A 31-31 tie.
A deep throw by Lawrence, a lot of contact. Justin Ross broke free from it. He's down in the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson.
Justin Ross, a freshman wide receiver, big, rangy, and Trevor Lawrence knows, throw it up against that single coverage, give him a chance to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
If you're a fan of the ACC, pull up an armchair. You're home. Weekends in the fall just got a hell of a lot better. Saturday mornings, it's Dixie Football Nation, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We talk SEC, ACC, the Big Ten, and more. It's the only true Southern football kickoff show. You don't want to miss it. 8 to 9 Eastern Saturdays. The Armchair Quarterbacks have got you covered all football season long.
There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle.
If you're looking for gifts or stuff for yourself from all teams, from all sports, it's MVP Collectibles in the St. Augustine Outlets Mall. Suite 245 across from the food court. MVP Collectibles has all 32 NFL teams, every SEC, every ACC, teams from the Big Ten, and 10 different Major League Baseball teams. That's MVP Collectibles. It's where the Armchair Quarterbacks can be found just before game day to get our man cave popping no matter what team you love.
You go to hell. You go to hell and you die. I'm going to find out who you are.
No, I don't think you can. Okay.
Good morning. How the hell are you, Mr. Bobby?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. We're finally getting into the meat of our football capsules, and we will. Someone asked me this morning. We will be doing this with Tony later on in the season, but I thought this would be a perfect time to hit the Florida Gators because we've got nothing going on in the world of sports right now. There's no NBA today. We do have a game tomorrow. The NHL is done. Major League Baseball's on its break. And it's
they got the All-Star game tonight, I think.
Yeah, well, for people who aren't people who aren't sheep, there's an All-Star game. Us Atlanta Braves fans will not be watching the All-Star game in Denver, Colorado for obvious reasons. You're not tricking me, Stacey Abrams. But anyways, so this really is one of the best times to hit it because we're going to have NFL camps open up next week. So when they hit up next week, we're going to have so much stuff to get into. And I wanted to make sure that you were able, you're a big Gator fan. Don't know what your parents did to you, but somehow you ended up being a fan. And I want to make sure that you got your say in on the Florida Gators this year because looking forward to you being on the Dixie Football Nation kickoff show. That's going to be a lot of fun. For people who have missed that memo, we're going to do it the same time we do this show. Basically, from a marketing standpoint, I didn't want to confuse a lot of damn people. So we're going to be 8:30 to 9:30 on Saturdays. There's a chance that show might bleed over a little bit, but it will be starting at 8:30. But when we've got some newcomers, we've got Bobby, this Florida Gator fandom. We've got Tones Areola is going to be joining us. He's a big Penn State guy, so we're getting a Big Ten guy to the table. Angelo is going to be back, big Florida State guy, and of course Tony Agolini, our resident Gator encyclopedia. You'll learn more from Tony Aguilini on that show, I guarantee you, as a Gator fan, than you will ever learn in your entire life. Wikipediaing and Googling anything. Tony goes to almost every single sporting event that the Florida Gators do. Okay.
Jeez.
So yeah, he is that kind of fan. I mean, he is as much as I hate the Gators, I love Tony, so that's why he's on the show, because he is what if Florida State was a little closer to Jacksonville, I would be doing the same thing. I just can't commit to driving 6 to 7 hours round trip every damn weekend to go see a football game. It's if single days, yes. Merry days, no. They put the brakes on that. So, anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the Florida. Well, I'll tell you what. Right before we do that, because I don't want to make sure that we do bring this up. What are you thinking on tomorrow night's game? Is it going to get tied up with the Bucks, or the Suns going to take a commanding 3-1 lead?
The Bucks on their own home floor looked great last night. Giannis didn't seem to be phased from the free throw line at all. He nearly knocked all of them down. I think the Bucks, they still are going to have that desperate mentality. They know if they lose this game, the series is probably over. I think they'll go in. I think they'll tie the series.
I know that ABC wants it. And I do tend to think that Milwaukee's going to win. I still think the Suns are going to win it all, because when we get past tomorrow night, no matter what happens, if it goes 7, 2 of the next 3 will be back in Phoenix. And I just don't know if Milwaukee can go into Phoenix and get the W at Phoenix. Phoenix has a big time home court advantage. And I also concerned that can Antetokounmpo do this for 6 games in a row, right? And so that's kind of because he played a pretty good game too. At some point,
they had a great game too.
Yeah, at some point, well, it wasn't great because they lost. It was good. It's a great game if you lose. Just like Kyle Trask had a good game in the SEC championship, but it wasn't a great game. It was a great
whatever.
Great game means you walked away with the SEC title, but that's that's the definition of great is if you get the W. I just believe that in a 7-game series, Phoenix is really deep, and Giannis tends to disappear. And if they're going to win it all, Giannis can't disappear. And that's my concern with the Greek Freak. Nothing against him personally, but I've seen Robin too much from a guy that should be Batman. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the Florida Gators as we are. God, what are we? This is July 5th. So we are about 7 weeks away from opening kickoff. And what surprised me when I looked at the Gator schedule, it's a really easy schedule. I mean, if you look in comparison to other SEC schedules, this is a cakewalk.
I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk with Alabama on the schedule.
Three of their 4 out of conference games is Florida Atlantic, South Florida, and Samford.
Yeah, our out of conference games
that's a clown
fairly easy.
Kentucky and Vanderbilt, South Carolina. Well, I know. I mean, that's what adds to the easiness. But South Carolina is not going to be a good team. Tennessee shouldn't be a good team in a first-year rebuild. Now, if you lose to Tennessee in the swamp the first year for Josh Heupel, that's all on Mullen. I don't care. I don't care what we're about to get into here. You can't lose that game. The games that I see that they're going to have the most issue with is Alabama, September 18th, at LSU on October 16th. And then they do get a week off. So it is back-to-back games, but they get a week off. So it's not really the Georgia game in Jacksonville. They get Florida State at the end of the year, but it's in Gainesville. The problem with Florida State is we really don't know what we have down there in Hassey right now.
Yeah.
Because this is for all intents and purposes, this is the first season of Mike Norvell at Florida State. last year was just a dumpster fire of COVID this and COVID that, and trying to figure out it. You can't. I think if they knew COVID was coming, they probably would have let Willie Taggart coach one more year just so they wouldn't have to waste the money. But anyway, that is what that is. I see a team that even if it goes horribly wrong, it's such an easy schedule. 9-3 is very achievable, even if it's a terrible year.
Oh, 9-3 should be the bare minimum, I think, for expectations for this team. I think anything below that's an immense disappointment.
Yeah. And honestly, we'll get into it in a second, but I think we're on the right track because I don't see them beating Alabama even though it's in Gainesville. And LSU is a big question mark too. With them losing their left tackle, that concerns me a little bit. And the LSU game, assuming it's probably going to be a night game, advantage LSU. But when you lose your left tackle, that's a huge issue for a team that struggled mightily last year. Now, I don't think Ogeron's going to have the type of piss poor performance that he had last year out of LSU. But this Florida Gator team is also coming off 3 consecutive losses. So this isn't a team that's rolling into the next season. They lose Kyle Trask. Now, with them having Emory Jones there, he's listed as a junior, but he's realistically a senior. This is a guy that came in at the very beginning. Emory Jones was a part of Dan Mullen's first big recruiting class. And he was supposed to be his guy, the guy that, was going to change Florida Gator football. And instead he ended up leaning on Kyle Trask. And from what I've seen of Emory Jones, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, he's a glorified running back at this point. Emory Jones,
how he was used in our offense, but he hasn't had much of a chance to really shine at quarterback. I don't think he got his shot in the Oklahoma game. He played better than Trask, which doesn't say much. But I think giving him the chance to be the starting quarterback, I think he'll do good. And even if he doesn't, we have Anthony Richardson to fall back on. So I think he has some promise.
Yeah, but he's a freshman, and you can't put a lot. You can't. That's a good way to ruin a freshman is put him in against Alabama, right?
Well, definitely not against Alabama. That game gets out of hand, it's no
bare minimum. I think Emory Jones is a starting quarterback till at least Vanderbilt.
I think it's fair.
Because let's say he stinks the place up, they're still going to give him another chance against Tennessee. Now, if they were to lose back-to-back games, Alabama, Tennessee, then okay, Emory Jones is probably riding the pine. But one of the biggest issues with the Florida Gators last year is, man, Mullen is not in the best favor with the brass up top. And then, of course, he ticked off a lot of people at the university themselves when he said, pack the swamp in the middle of a pandemic. That didn't go over well. He's had a lot of violations where and look, we knew what Dan Mullen was when he came in. He's a guy that does not, he's not known as a clean coach. He's always been on the cusp of doing, he got in trouble at Mississippi State for some of the things that he did. He got in trouble. He was raked over the coals at Florida, though not nearly as much as I think he should have been. His first year at UF, when the defensive back transferred out of Gainesville. I don't know if you remember this or not, because you had him. He was rooming with Mr. Rapey, and he was like, I don't want to room with this kid. And Mullen and his staff said, we'll deal with it next fall. But as of right now, we can't do anything about it. So you have to go in there with that kid who's been accused of raping 4 women. I don't want to be his damn roommate. So he ends up transferring out. It was originally Oregon, and now I believe he's at Southern Cal. But he does it. There are times when I see Mullen, he's kind of a meathead, and I don't know if all the things connect with him as far from the PR standpoint. He's a good at X's and O's college football coach. he always gets usually the most out of his quarterbacks. I mean, this is the guy that gave us Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a phenomenal job with Kyle Trask. We'll see with Emory Jones. But from what I've seen of Emory Jones so far, is he's a guy that relies a lot on his athleticism. And I don't think that's going to take you very far in the Southeastern Conference. He's going to have to be more of a passer, more of a touch on his pass. And when I look at his, the numbers that he does, he has a very, very small sample size. But one of the biggest issues you're going to have is it is a small sample size, but he is older. I think he's 21. I think is where he is. So at least he's not a true freshman coming in. But Florida Atlantic, South Florida, by running the ball up the gut 72 times alone should get you that win.
Yeah.
Neither one of those teams are any good. Won't that be the ripper if FAU goes in and beats Florida? You'll never hear from it. You'll never hear the end of it from these Florida State morons that think Willie Taggart. You wouldn't believe some of the ones that are still on Twitter that are still out there saying we should have never gotten rid of Willie Taggart. I'm like, oh, okay.
Jeez.
So if Florida loses that game, in a strange way, I'm going to be a little pissed off because I'm going to have to listen to this junk on Twitter. What happened? Anyways, South Florida, same situation. They're no good. They're not the South Florida of 10, 15 years.
That they used to be, yeah.
Right. The Alabama game. My biggest thing for you is this: you get Emory Jones coming in as a centerpiece. Tailbacks. Who are you expecting to lead the charge? Because you got Damian Pierce and Naquan Wright, Malik Davis, and then you've got the Clemson transfer, DeMarcus Bowman. Who are you expecting to be the guy? Is it Pierce?
I really like what I saw from Wright late in the season. I think he has a good shot to, take the reins as the starting running back. I like Pierce as well. Davis, I don't have a problem with him. It's been a problem for a while. His ability to not fumble the ball, that's been a little bit of a concern. I think if he can get that under control, he can still be a viable piece in our offense. But I do like our backfield, but I like Wright specifically the most.
The wide receiving core, that's going to be a huge question mark. Because you lost all in 1 year. You lost Kyle Pitts, Tony, and Grimes.
Yeah.
They had 31 touchdowns combined in 2020. When you lose that and you lose the quarterback at the same time, that's what concerns me the most about Florida going into the season is that defense was terrible last year. What was the weird stat that I saw on that shocked the hell out of me? Well, first of all, they allowed 30.8 points per game, the most Florida has allowed since World War II. Whoa. I mean, what the hell?
That's unbelievable.
I'd say some of it has to do with the fact that they didn't have, the cupcakes like Florida Atlantic and South Florida on their schedule. So your per game doesn't go down as much. But they did have Vanderbilt on the schedule. So, my God. I went back and looked at the scores. I was like, man, they really did give up points. I mean, they even gave up 17 to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was trash. The other stat that threw me for a loop was how, because first of all, Grantham, I know Florida Gators were just absolutely pissed off at him. He is one of the top paid coordinators in the country. Gets paid almost $2 million a year. And he didn't get anything done. But they kept him.
Not at all. And you mentioned some of the problems that Florida, I guess, the brass, and the fans have with Mullen. And one of my problems, probably my main problem with him, is that he puts so much trust in Grantham, and he won't let him go. It feels like he won't break that up, even though how bad Grantham has been, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, he fired 2 assistants. And he hired Wesley McGriff for the safeties, and looks like the name is Jules Montanar to coach the cornerbacks. Now, the one thing I'll say is they had some transfers that came in, and they've got that 5-star. What's this kid's name? Jason Marshall. That looked really good in spring practice. We didn't get a spring game, so we don't know what the hell that they would have actually looked like. But and I can't discount the fact that not having a spring game is kind of a big deal, because if nothing else, it gives you a chance to see it on a more in-game situation kind of stage, as opposed to just, on the back end of the practice field on whether or not your defensive backs are playing well. That front seven for Florida should be a hell of a lot better, because when some of these guys that came in that they brought in, they got the tackle from Penn State, Shelton. They've got Newkirk from Auburn. And then they've also got a couple of newcomers, and Cox comes back. Carter comes back. Miller comes back. I would suspect this defense has got to be better, because, first of all, how the hell could they be any worse? But I would think they would be significantly better. If they're not, then Grantham's definitely getting fired.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because you can't, if you're Dan Mullen, you can't go 2 consecutive years digging your heels in and saying Grantham's my guy. Eventually they're going to go, well, then you can go find a job with him somewhere. So,
yeah, absolutely.
And the Florida Gator fan base is anything but patient. They try to go out there and, make a big deal because Florida State had already fired Taggart, whatever. Same situation. Taggart's gone in Gainesville too. It's the same situation. Right. You don't get years to build something in Gainesville. You either do it or they get rid of you. Because I thought way back in the day, just before Urban Meyer, the head coach that they had, his name is escaping right now, Zook. Zook did a pretty solid job at Florida, and he's the one that took over for Spurrier. That's a difficult job in itself, to be the guy that replaces Spurrier. He did a decent job, and they still fired his ass. So, Mullen better know, if he doesn't get to the SEC championship game on average every other year, Florida fans are going to look to fire him, because they really are. They think they're Alabama, even though they're not. And so it doesn't really matter, because that's what the fan base thinks, right? I live down here. I'm surrounded by it. The Gator fan, your average Gator fan, really thinks that they are Alabama, that they're just a step below Alabama. They don't realize that they're miles behind Alabama when it comes to the, the big scale, but you'll never convince them of it. It's just like you'll never convince a Hurricane fan of it, because they'll keep telling you about the 5 championships they won, pre-cable TV era. But it's just I'm looking at their schedule, and real quick, we'll rattle it off real quick. Florida Atlantic at South Florida, home against Alabama, at home against Tennessee, at Kentucky, at home against Vanderbilt, at LSU. Then you get the largest outdoor cocktail party in the world on October 30th, which is always fun when it lands right around Halloween. Then they'll finish it off at South Carolina, Samford, at Missouri, which is a dangerous place. I don't know why Florida does not play well in Missouri, but Tony talks about this all the time. When we first started talking about it, I kind of roll my eyes, and then I'd watch again and go, boy, he's right, man. Missouri gets their number. So it's not as easy a game, but they should win talent-wise, but that could be a difficult game. And then
we always struggle against Missouri for some reason. It's not – I'll never understand it.
And then the final game at Florida State, which is absolutely ridiculous because they didn't play the game last year. It should be in Tallahassee, but that's for another debate for another show. But that's typical Florida Gators for you. So, see what I did there? Anyways, your Gators, where do you have them this year?
I hate to predict them losing to Georgia, but I think one of those 2 LSU and Georgia games I think will drop. I think it'll be the Georgia game. So I have it sitting at 10-2, which isn't terrible. It's below where I'd want to be at this point with Mullen, but with how good Georgia, talent-wise, how they look this year, and the fact that we have Alabama on the schedule so early, I think we finished 10-2.
I think Emory Jones is going to be okay. I don't think he's going to be a disaster. He could. I honestly think that Florida's probably going to finish 9-3. Alabama, I'd be surprised if they beat Alabama. And if they do beat Alabama, there's a good chance they're going to be so shell shocked and jumping out of the building that they'll lose to Tennessee the next week because that's
if we lose to Tennessee, that would be an ultimate crash. I mean, I'd be high to bottoming out.
I mean, that's a tough back-to-back. You don't get a week off even though you're at home.
There's not much tough about Tennessee.
If you beat Alabama, you're on upset alert. If you lose to Alabama,
but it's Tennessee still.
I get that, but Josh Heupel is not exactly. I wouldn't think they could beat them, but they're still a Southeastern Conference team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm. Yeah. So I would. They're going to lose one of those games. I would think it's Alabama, and then they're going to go to LSU. That's a tough night game, and then they're going to play Georgia. That unless something terribly goes wrong with Georgia, I just feel like that's a loss. JT Daniels is back. That Georgia defense. The fact that Florida beat them last year is not going to help things, so they're going to be circling that game for sure.
Yep.
And the rest of it, I figure South Carolina they'll win. I figure Sanford they better win that. I figure Missouri and Florida State they should win those. But I see 9-3, and I see them playing like in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a Florida Gator fan will tell you different because they think that they're Alabama, they think that they're Clemson, but they're not at that level right now.
9-3 would hurt.
When Urban Meyer was in his heyday, sure, but right now they're just below that, and he's building. And as long as he doesn't get in his own way and break more violations, get in more trouble, Mullen will probably do a pretty good job. But something I want to throw at you. Have you looked at the recruiting class?
For Florida?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Have you seen where they're ranked right now?
I believe last time I checked it was around 8, right?
30th.
30th? Have they dropped off that far?
You damn right they have.
Jeez.
30th.
And Mullen's not the greatest recruiter, that's for sure.
30th.
So, jeez.
In all 4 years, he has finished outside the top 10 in recruiting. And when it's all said and done, players get you W's. I don't have the I had it up the other day when Tony and I were talking. I'll see if it's still there. But 30th was what I saw last time, which is just insane because Florida State's doing really well, but then again, we're really early in the recruitment process. And same thing with Florida. But it's never good when they're 35th this morning. 30. Someone must have decommitted. That's the only thing I can think of. Because when I sent it to Tony the morning before we did the show, they were 29th. That morning, he goes, man, they fell to 30th. And he's not paying attention to it. He's scoffing at it, although if they were in the top 5, he'd be pounding his chest. 30th. 30th.
Yeah,
or 35th. You know who's 34th right in front of you?
Who's that?
Tennessee Volunteers.
Oh, they can feel great.
And they don't even have McDonald's bags.
Yeah, they have no pull. There's no reason why a recruit would want to go there. I'm not
or
sure.
if they do have McDonald's bags, those are legal now, evidently.
I guess so.
All the nonsense.
Or they're doing better at hiding it.
Ohio State, Notre Dame, by the way, are 1 and 2. Penn State's 3, LSU 4, and Florida State is 5th. Florida State one has surprised me, but I'm still like, it's July and these are 18-year-old kids and they'll change their mind a million times. If Florida State's in the top 10, I'll look at it as a win. The other one that'll shock you, Boston College is number 10.
Wow.
The hell's Boston College doing? What is Alabama doing at 12? There's no way that stays the same.
They're gonna rise up.
Alabama.
They're gonna stay out of there for top
They're
10.
not going to get outdone with all these. with the way that you can pay these kids. There's no way they're going to let themselves get outdone. All right, let's go ahead and turn back time and get the hell on out of here. Here we go. But yeah, 35th. Wow. It's almost like watching a weird video game. You're like, there's something wrong with this. Like what is going on? I don't know what he's doing. Is he putting his finger in kids' faces when you go to recruit them? Like, he's doing something where they're like, nah, dude, I'm good, man. I just no. All right, here we go on turn back time. All right, on this date, 1962, Arnold Palmer wins his second consecutive British Open title, 6 strokes in front of the number 2 guy. And also on this date, 1968, Gary Player wins his second of 3 British Open titles. An event of interest, in 1971, this is one of the more famous All-Star games. 1971, Frank Robinson was the MVP as the American League beats the NL 6-4. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today. What does that mean?
All right, dead guy. Alberto Ascari. Ever heard of him?
It was the first time
can't say I have.
He's an Italian auto racer and won the F1 championship 2 times, 52 and 53. Died in 1955. What's that?
And drinking wine. You realize
Start getting some audio issues.
Was too
and then you live guys, 39 years old, Shin Soo-kyu from South Korea. Happy 39th birthday. That's one of my favorite players that I've ever had in fantasy baseball. I'll tell you why, in his prime, the guy was so consistent on every day you would open up the app to see what he did, and he was always plugging along, getting a couple hits. Sometimes it was a home run, usually they were singles, maybe a double, but he never went through this long stretch where he was like 0 for 22, and you're like, would you quit it? Would you get a base hit? Shin-Soo-kyu, happy birthday. And we'll just leave it at that. I didn't know this was his birthday as well. Same age. 39 years old, arguably the greatest catcher of our current, over the last 20 years. Yadier Molina, 9-time All-Star for the St. Louis Cardinals, and of course won the World Series in 06. 9-time Gold Glove. Oh, of course he won in 2011 as well. Where's your walk-off for today, sir?
Not much going on in sports tonight, but I'll say at 6:30 Central, there's the MLB All-Star Game. A lot of names to watch. I know the home run derby was last night. As Alonso went back-to-back, that was pretty impressive. He's now, I don't know, I don't watch much baseball, but he went on a tear.
Yeah, he's won back-to-back. I didn't watch it. I just will not watch. I refuse.
I mean, he was going over and over and over. It was incredible. But yeah, tonight, All-Star Game, 6:30.
First home run derby that you've watched?
No, I've watched some in the past.
Okay.
I've tuned into some. Typically, the final rounds. I'll watch some of the early ones, but
because I mean that's
mostly the semis.
That's the thing about the home run derby is that it's not like they're out there. They're throwing them gopher balls.
Yeah.
My walk off for the day is evidently it's National French Fry Day and National Cow Appreciation Day. So would it be wrong to eat a burger with fries if it's Cow Appreciation Day? Is that how you
might want to go for a hot dog today?
Is that how
for the cows?
Are you not supposed to appreciate cows in that wet? I
don't know.
Something to do with barbecue too, because National Beans and Franks, which is weird that they call it that, Beans and Franks Day. Always think of is that what movie is that where they're talking about my beans are below my Franks or I got my beans above my Franks. I forget the name. Is that something about Mary? Is that what that is? It seems like it is. Anyways, we will see you next Tuesday. By then, have you ever seen something about Mary?
No, I have not.
Wow, really?
No.
That's a classic.
I'll go watch it.
If you're not doing anything today, that's a classic. You will.
Well, outside of the All-Star game, I probably won't be doing too much. So
you will
I'll
laugh
probably go check it out.
Ass off. You will absolutely laugh your ass off. There's something about Mary is a classic, and I won't spoil it, but there is an appearance by a Hall of Famer in that movie. So,
what sport?
Football.
Okay.
I'm going to bring it up as like cricket or something. Hall of Fame bowler shows up in the middle. All right, brother. We will see you next week.
Sounds good.
Enjoy the NBA playoffs tomorrow night. And tomorrow we're doing fantasy football. We're doing something that I'm only doing tomorrow. So if you want to win your leagues, y'all, tomorrow's the day to tune in. So I'm going to give you an upper hand on something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. I pay attention to it every year, and it's why I got them rings, baby. That's why I dominate. We'll see you next. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next week, sir.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah.